Now, floor beds are something that I recommend quite frequently to my toddler families. When a toddler suddenly discovers they can climb out of the cot, so the cot can no longer be relied on to contain them or keep them safe, or if children just do not want to entertain the idea of going into a cot at all. So how does a floor bed work? Well, essentially it's a mattress on the floor, but not entirely in contact with the floor because that lends itself to moisture buildup. So I always suggest either getting an actual floor bed or raising a mattress up off the floor on planks or a pallet or something that's going to be safe. Now, of course, the child is not contained to this bed. They can roam freely around the room, and that is the whole point of the floor bed, is that it gives the child some choice and autonomy about where and how they fall asleep. Now, this can send a few families or parents into a spin thinking, oh my goodness, my child is never going to sleep. They're going to be opening cupboards, they're going to be climbing bookshelves, they're going to be up to all kinds of mischief. This is where I always remind people, look, bedrooms have to be child-proof if you're going to use a floor bed situation or if a child is moving out of a cot in general. So we want to make sure that sockets are covered, blind cords are shortened or removed altogether, bookcases are secured to their walls, maybe consider putting a lock on the wardrobe door, or removing anything that potentially could cause injury or mischief. So how do you keep your child in the bed, I hear you say? Well, a lot depends on how tired your child is at bedtime. Now, if your little one has the capacity night after night to keep bombing around the room and getting up to mischief, I would first say that potentially that child is not tired enough for sleep. Now, the first time they go into a bed, of course, that initial night could be a bit chaotic. That's very normal. But if this continues night on night, I would suggest the child's not tired enough. Now, in terms of how your child falls asleep on a floor bed, it pretty much is their decision how and where they sleep. So how to keep your child on the bed, I hear you say. Well, of course, this is what I was saying before. It's really up to them how and where they put themselves to sleep in this bedroom setup. So you might find that your child crawls off the bed and just collapses to sleep on the carpet after some playing and rolling around. That's totally fine. You can lift them back into bed when they're asleep. They may decide that they want to look at books or get up and play with a little toy on the shelf or something like that before sleep. That's totally okay too. As I said, it's all about fostering that autonomy and that choice with how they would like to fall asleep. Now, if your child's been used to falling asleep independently in the cot and they're happy for you to leave the room, then the idea is to look at the room as the cot. So you're creating a safe space within the confines of that room. So we're treating the room, the entire room, as if it's the bed, safe enough for them to sleep anywhere. So it's not about making sure that they stay in bed and they just lie down and they go to sleep. If they're content to hang out in the room without you and ultimately put themselves to sleep in their own way, then that's brilliant. The main thing that most people fear is that their child will keep on calling out or keep coming out of the bedroom. So in that situation, I would say one strategy for maintaining the boundaries of that sleep space or that bedroom, rather than shutting the door on them, is to create some sort of barrier like a baby gate. I've even heard of some people putting security doors on the bedrooms so that they can see out, but they're not actually shut off, but they're contained safely to their bedroom. Now, obviously, that's not everybody's choice, and some parents prefer to sleep in that space with them. Again, I would urge parents who do this not to try and control their every move, allow their freedom of movement. Try not to say, get into bed, stay in bed, lie down, you've got to go to sleep. Because once your child is in a bed, really we have to allow them to discover their own ways of falling asleep so that you don't have to engineer every facet of it or supervise them during every step of the process. If the room is safe and there are confines to it, so in other words, there is limits on them being able to leave the room, then you can treat it much the same as the cot setup. If your child is happy for you to leave them to settle at sleep time and they're content to chat to themselves or play a little bit before they fall asleep, then you can leave the room or sit outside of the room. But if your child needs you to stay, having the room safety proofed, having it so that they can't just get up and walk out, means that you can lie there in a very relaxed way, allowing all behaviour, all emotions to unfold, knowing that they're supported and not lonely as they fall asleep. So the main benefits to this, of course, is that your child is safe. They're not going to be falling out of the cot and donging themselves on the head the minute you turn your back. They can come and go out of their bed as they please, so this usually makes for a happier child who's going to be less demanding at bedtime if they feel like they've got that freedom to explore and play. It's often more comfortable for them because, of course, they've got more room on a floor bed than they had in a cot. They may prefer to have some sort of side on the bed, so if you can set up a safety rail or something, they may feel a little bit more secure in that sleep space, so they're not likely to fall out, though obviously if it's a floor bed, there's not very far to fall anyway. And it can make for easier settling too, because of course you're no longer needing to hold your toddler in your arms and then lower them into a cot. If you need to hold each other while they fall asleep, then you can easily do that at mattress level. So I hope that sheds a little bit of light on floor beds, floor mattresses. There's many circumstances that I might recommend it, from little babies right up to preschoolers. So just another option for you to consider. Feel free to pop your experiences of a floor bed in the comments below, and feel free to share if you have any other tips.